Okay, so this is the unit I had, and I'm actually going to start modeling from here. Okay, just a quick note: you don't have to add the axes. I'm just adding them, to show you how to use grid tools as well. You could, if you're not comfortable with using the axis yet, you can use the model line tool here. So go to Architecture Model Line. This is basically a two-dimensional drafting tool. So you can technically create rectangles, create any type of lines, or any type of other geometric figures as well, like circles, polylines. What you would do is you can enter the basic dimensions. So you can start drafting kind of the overall outline for the unit. So let's say for the hotel room, I want to keep the bottom at let's say the whole thing to be let's go for like a 30 feet. If it's too large, we can scale it down. And I'm going to use this line and then offset it for the other types of divisions. So you can come in here, select offset, and the first offset is 8 feet. So I want to offset this 8 feet in this direction, and the second one is going to be 4. So I entered offset value 4 on my tab here, and then the last one is going to be 2 feet. Right, and I can do the same thing. Let's say horizontally. So let's add this line here. Let's go to offset again. Let's keep it at 8 feet. And then the other one is going to be, let's say, 12 feet. Okay? So this is kind of my plus or minus, and we can stretch it back and forth. So I'm going to start thinking about my bathroom first. So I go to Architecture, Wall. You don't have to change the wall types initially. You can start just modeling, and then you can select the objects you want to thicken or change afterwards. You can also override the types. So let's go for generic 8-inch wall for now, and just like you can basically trace these, right? So I'm going to check the properties of my wall. My base constraint is level 1. I want it to be placed on level 1. Let's place a top constraint for this. So let's say up to level 2. So the walls will be extended to level 2, so we don't have to specify a height for them. Now I come in here, and I'm going to trace these, and I'm going to close it up. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Now don't forget, I'm using the center lines, right? So if I'm using the offset as 2 feet, I'm actually losing space because of the wall thickness. So we can actually maybe change that. Let's do the walls not through the center lines, but through finish face exterior. And then if I come in here, every time I'm drawing, I'm preserving the space I wanted to have for the furniture, right? So I'm kind of going over the outlines of the space I had. And I can do the same thing to these. One quick shortcut to do that is if you want to just select all connected elements, like these walls, you can select one of them and hit the tab key on your keyboard. And the first tab highlights all the walls that are connected to that object. And if you click again, you'll be able to select all the walls at the same time. The finish face is when you select the wall, the location line is where you can override it. But what I'm trying to do is now change the properties of these walls because they were drawn with wall center line. So I'm selecting one of them, hitting tab and clicking again. So selecting all the walls at one instance, and then I can do finish face exterior to all of these and apply. Actually, I may have to redraw these. Let's redraw them. Revit doesn't adjust them. I think it keeps the walls but changes the control location for them. So let's go over this again. This one I'm going to go inside to preserve the corridor space. This one I'm going to go inside again. This one I'm going to go outside. Okay? Now, I want to, let's say, extend this wall to this object, or we can come up with a constraint. Let's say I want to extend this wall to the outer face I defined here. I'm going to use the align tool, select this side of the wall, and then let's do it again. Sorry, not align, trim extend, I think. Yeah, it's trim extend. I always mix the two for some reason. And I'm going to do the same thing again, trim extend single element, or you could also do trim extend to corner. So I was using this one to extend this wall to this line. You could also do this one. It's kind of the trim fillet tool in any other type of program you use, right? So I'm closing in the room basically. Now technically, in order to place a door here, you want to have a wall. Doors are wall specific objects, so you cannot just place a door on its own. It has to be specified on a wall. Same thing goes for the windows as well. So this means my wall construction has to be first watertight, then we can place openings inside of it, right? So I'm going to delete this part, do trim extend under modify tools again, select these two and close them up. And I can do the same thing here, trim extend single element, select this face, extend this guy to it. So I pretty much have like a basic outline for my room. Now the next thing I want to do is specify the doors. So I go to architecture, door. So we've been looking at walls, so now I'm going to do doors. Now we have some door types available to us. So these are by default loaded into Revit. We have 36 by 84 inch door. If you want to load other types of doors, you can go to let's see. Insert. You can go to load family. So go to insert load family, and then this will take you to Revit's library. This is actually where we are going to do a lot of importing for the furniture we want to use in Revit. So if you go click on furniture, there are specific like for instance some bed types here. There's a bunk bed as well, standard bed, bed box, tables, desks, chairs, seating. So you can basically import these or load these objects and then use them. We're going to do that in a second. But first, let's import some more doors. So I go to doors. Let's look at what type of doors we have. We have bifold doors, bifold 4-panel, curtain wall doors as well, double glass, double panel. So these are all specific built-in library objects that we could use. So I went to insert load family to bring in other types of library objects. I do load family. Now you can select all of them and import them, but if you want to avoid clutter, you can select the specific ones you're going to use for the project. So I'm going to choose the bifold 4-panel for the walk-in closets. So I'm going to import that. Hit open. Now this is added to my library, right? So when I select the type of object I want to use, now in the drop down I have the bifold 4-panel type added along with its variations as well. So we're going to actually use it on this side, and for that I need to place a wall there as well. So I'm going to select one of the walls, type in create CS for create similar, and then I'm going to place another wall here. Now of course this wall doesn't have to be this thick because it's just a division wall, so we can make it we can change its type, so we can make it generic 5 inches. And if you want to switch which direction you want to offset it to, you can use space, or you can click on this arrow, so that we preserve the 2 feet space for the walk-in closet. And then I come to architecture, door, bifold 4 panel. I'm going to place it here. So let's place it somewhere there. So I basically have a door added to that wall now. It's a wall type object. Now I can make some adjustments to this. So if I want to move this around, I can change these dimensions. I can change the way it's folding. So maybe this is folding inside. And maybe I want to align this to one side of the wall, right? So I can go to Modify tool, Align. I want to align this side to I want to align this edge to this side of the wall, and I want to constrain that relationship. So I want to lock that, right? So what that does is, if I move this wall now, the constrained relationship will keep having the door move along with it, because I established it as a constraint. Okay? Now obviously we could have another thing here. So let's say we can come up with a different type of design too. For instance, I can select this wall, type in create similar. Maybe I have another division here, and this could be like a shaft, or I could even put this wall to be here and put like something else there, right? Maybe another closet, or maybe a counter for something else. So you can keep designing your hotel room. Now the other thing I want to do is look at the bathroom. Now all these walls, interior walls, they don't have to be thicker than 5 inches. They are division walls. So I'm going to select these two. I'm using Control. I'm holding Control on my keyboard to add to my selection. I'm going to change the type of these walls to be 5 inches. And now let's think about the inner organization for the bathroom. So before I do that, I can import some furniture to be used in the bathroom. So let's go to architecture. The furniture elements you're going to use in your plans, they will be located under the component tool. So if you select component, this is where your furniture will be loaded. It's similar to how the doors work, but these are not wall type objects, right? So you can place them freely on floor plans. And this is the default loaded library. We don't have a lot of furniture, so what we could do is insert some more. So I again go to Insert, Load Family, and bring in the furniture that we want to use. The bathroom stuff would be, I think, under it's under plumbing, architecture, fixtures. Bathtubs are here, showers are here, sinks are here, water closets are here, right? So you want to bring one of each. So let's go to bathtubs. We have rectangular, freestanding. Let's use this one, tub rectangular. But also look at what the library object says. This says it's a 2D object. It's not a 3-dimensional tub. So there won't be a 3D model of it. If you want to keep a model, you want to bring a 3-dimensional object. So you can also use, let's say, a freestanding one. So let's use the freestanding one. Now that one is loaded. Again, I go back to Load Family, Plumbing, Architectural, Fixtures, Sinks. These are kitchen sinks, actually. Let's say if we have drains, urinals, let's bring a water closet, domestic water closet. Let's see. Plumbing, architectural, fixtures, sinks. remember where the sink with the storage underneath it is. Lighting, furniture, systems. No, it's not this one. If like you're not happy with, I mean, these are the default library objects. If you're not happy with these, you can always download other ones from the internet. So I might as well just go over that right now too. So let's find one. Let's find the sink that we want to use. There are multiple locations you can download additional Revit library objects. So you can go to Autodesk Seek, which is one. It's a BIM model catalog, and you can find any type of element here. Let's say sink. So there will be sink objects here, and you can download their Revit model. I mean Revit file. So let's say for my yeah, RFA is a Revit file, right? Let's say it's going to be bathroom sink. Let's say we want to use this one. So RFA, I'm going to download this guy. Oh, save selected to local. Select the object here, and then download. Okay. Now I got the file here. It's in my downloads folder. I'm going to copy paste it into my desktop and create other furniture, a folder for my furniture, and paste it in there. And now if I go to load family, desktop, other furniture, I want to import this guy, and it will load it into Revit. Then if I go to architecture component, my sink is here. I think this needs something else to be placed though. Let's find a freestanding one. Sorry. You just import it the same way. So go to insert, load family, and then select the object. Yeah, and select that file. Huh? Yes, there are some variations of it, so you'll be able to manipulate. I'm trying to remember where this cabinet is. Let me find the cabinets. Load family. Did anybody find the cabinets? No, I know it's on the internet, but there should be one. Huh? Casework. Yeah, it's casework. Damn it. Base cabinets, countertops. Yeah, we already have some here. There's vanity, countertop. No, it's under casework. There's wall cabinets. No. Yeah, they're like prefab, almost. Huh? Then you can find it here, Autodesk Seek. These are all custom objects produced by companies as well. Countertop, shelving. Okay, base cabinet, double door sink unit. Let's get this guy. Or vanity double door with 4 drawer, vanity sink unit. Vanity is basically the one for the bathroom, right? So I can select these two and open them as well. This is from casework. And then go to component. And I want to place this guy. Let's place it somewhere here. So that's how much space my cabinet is going to use. And then I'm going to go to component again. Where's my vanity sink? Vanity sink is here. Spacebar. It's same as the walls, and I'm going to place my sink there. Okay, so I place the sink. Let's insert the bathtub. Let's say the bathtub is going to be here. And the last one I'm going to place is the toilet. You can simply drop them in, and then you can use the align tool to establish constraints, right? So I can go to modify, align, select this wall and this edge, and then lock that relationship. Now this is a bit tight, actually. Let me think if we can come up with, like, I don't think we have enough space here, so what we could do is extend this dimension a bit more. Or we could do, can rotate this one, because I want to also include a shaft here. Let's add the shaft first. So I'm going to select one of these division walls, create similar, come in here and add my shaft. This is going to be my shaft, and I can simply add a door here. Huh? For plumbing, heating, everything, right? Let's keep it like this. I think it should be okay. We can put another cabinet here if you want to. Let's go to architecture again, door, and I'm going to use a single door this time, 36 by 84. This is going to be the door to enter the unit. I'm going to place it there. The other one could be a bit smaller, so 84 is the height, 36 is the width. This is actually pretty big. But for the units, you can use larger doors, and for the toilets, you can use smaller ones. So let's say we want to use 30 by 80, and this one I'm going to place on this side. Yeah, you have to insert it. So you can go to insert load family, doors, find any door you want to use. You can even use glass doors. Okay, this is a bit tight, so let's increase the dimension a bit. So what I can do is the 4 feet, maybe we want to make it a bit larger, so I can make it 5 feet. So this gets pushed. Then I'm going to go to modify, align tool. I want to align this edge with this edge of the cabinet. Let me see what happens. It actually stretches the countertop, so I don't want to do that. So let's move this whole thing again. Let's do this 5 feet. Let's select these two, type in MV, push this out. Trying to give more space to the restroom. Then this one, let's increase it a bit more. Let's move it by another 2 feet. Okay. I can delete the model lines. I'm using the model lines to draft it. So the door, let's make it 2 feet 6 inches. So it's at the center of this opening. And the last thing I want to do is to add an aperture here, right? So we can do it in a bunch of ways, but I want to split this wall basically in these two locations. So I go to modify, then I want to do split with gap. So if you look at the video, it basically allows you to select two locations to divide the wall segment. So I'm going to do that, split with gap. I want to split here and here. And you can delete the in-between section. If your split wasn't perfect, you can come in again and do trim extend to join these edges. Huh? Trim extend is here under modify tool, trim extend. I think it goes all the way to the ceiling, so let's check. So I go to the 3D. This is what I've been working on. So the gap goes all the way to the ceiling. If you want to create an opening, then you can also place it in an empty opening. I think it's also like an object. It's wall specific object. Yeah, you can also place one. Okay, now let's go to level 1 again. Huh? So this wall was continuous, so let's do it. Let's do another one. So if I want to split this anywhere, I go to split with gap. I want to select, let's say here and here, and I can delete this. Right? Just splits it. Okay. Now I can have a counter here and a bed there. So let's place the bed. So I go to architecture component. I don't think I loaded the bed, so I go to load family, furniture, beds. Let's do the standard or the box. Let's do the bed box. So we have a double, queen, and twin. So I'm going to use the queen. Now technically, in most hotels you may have two. You can put two if you want. If you want to keep this large, or depending on the size, you can put nightstands on both sides and shrink the room size a bit. So I'm going to place two. And then this part would be where my counter is, right? So I would put like maybe a running countertop over there. But I'll leave it to you. Now the placement for these, let's put 4 feet, actually let's make it 5 feet gap. So I could put some tables there too. So again, component, you will bring in the families you want to use, furniture, tables. You can bring like a coffee table, a small, like an oval table, and then some chairs as well. I'll leave it to you. Okay. The next thing I want to show you is windows. But how about I wait for a bit for you to play around with these walls and doors. So come up with like a bathroom layout. Put some different doors. Put like a closet. And play with some of these tools, join and split tools, okay? Okay, so let's look at some of the other wall options. So again, when we were drafting walls, we were selecting the specific wall object we want to use, wall type, and then we were entering dimensions and drafting walls, right? So you can do the same way. You can do, if you select wall again, go to modify place wall, context ribbon. The highlighted green is an object specific tool. There are other types of geometry options here that you could use as well, like the center ends arc tool, for instance. And the preview shows you just how that would work. So let's say I want to use, let's say, an arc wall here, like that. I can add it. And we can keep going. with our construction. Right, so this is, and the controls for this one would be the radius, as well as if you extend it, you can change the angle, right? So here I have an angle control. So if I enter 120 degrees, it will be 120 degrees. And then I can also control the radius of it. So let's say we want it to be 4 feet. Something happens, let me see. Can't make a wall. Okay, I guess there's a constraint there. Join elements. Okay, so circular walls. So these could be, I mean, you can use these maybe when you're, let's say, making a big unit. Maybe there are like some features inside of it, right? So let's say this is the unit, and maybe there's an axis here. But rather than expressing this axis, you break it up, and maybe there's a circular wall in there. Let's do arc radius again. So you can like have a line. Why doesn't it join? Let's extend it first and then clean it up. It doesn't like it somehow. I mean, technically you want to push this a bit. Let's do another wall segment. And then I keep drawing the circle. Let's go here. Arc. Okay, so the interior walls could be more, different if you want. This could be like a dining area, for instance. I made it actually too big. But anyhow, let's look at windows quick. So windows would be similar to doors. They are wall-specific objects. So I'm going to go to Window, and by default we have a few of them loaded in. And if you want to include more, you can go to Load Family, Windows, and bring in the ones that you want to use. So let's say we want to use a double hung. Where's the other one? Slider with trim and double hung with trim. Let's use those two. I'm going to use this small one that I've created, and you can place them on walls. So let's say I want to place one here, another one here, another one here, and let's say we want to equalize. Let's say we want to create some relationship here, where the walls, where the center line of the windows are all at equal increments. You can create an annotation like the way I did. Go to Annotate, Aligned, and select, let's say, this side of the wall, the outer side of the wall, the center line of the window, this center line of the window, this one, and maybe the center line of this wall. And then once I select the dimension, there's an equalize option here. If you select equalize, it will calculate the total space and divide it into equal segments. And then based on the way you place the dimensions, it will readjust the position of the windows. And if you're done with it, you can delete it, but you will lose the constraint, right? Because we're establishing this as a constraint. And if you want to lock this relationship, you can, if you want to lock any of these relationships, you can establish it as a constraint. And now if I move or stretch this window, the wall, it will give me an error because it cannot keep the equalize option anymore. So I'm going to cancel. Yeah. You cannot lock them. You can unlock them. But if I stretch it, it will keep the equalize option, right? Because we are basically establishing it as a constraint. Okay? And next thing, let's create another window. I had slider with trim, double hung with trim. Let's put it here. Now the placement of the sill, is normally towards the outside, right? Right now I place them on the inside, and we can flip them the same way we control the doors. So you can hit this arrow, and it will flip the placement of the sill for the window objects. Same arrow is placed twice for the doors, because we can switch the direction we want to open the doors, as well as which side of the wall we want to open them to. Technically, we draw the doors opening towards the wall, so don't draw them like this, because you will get trapped in the corner. But in this case, it could open this way, depends on what you want to place here, right? So it could also open towards this direction, if there's something here. But I chose to do it this way because there will be a counter or something else there. Okay. Now, let's look at some of the custom walls. Any questions so far? So basically, all the stuff like doors, windows, they are wall-specific objects. So you have to model the walls first. Then you can place doors and windows on it. And there are different types of walls as well. And we have been working with the basic wall, which in 3D looks basically something like this. If you want to see the materials of the walls, right now this doesn't have a material, but you can go to the visual style here, below here, visual style, and switch it to realistic. And it will show you the actual materials of the objects you're using. So it will show you the materials for the doors, materials for the furniture as well. Just to give you a quick snapshot of like the power of Revit, you can override these properties of the walls of the objects you're using. So if I want to change the material appearance of this door, for instance, I can select one of the instances of that object. Actually, let's do this for the window. So if I want to change, let's say, the sill material or the frame material for the window, I can select one of them and go to Edit Type. Now this is where we would have basic dimensions and properties for this object, and you can, under Type Properties, you can see the family it belongs to and the type variation of it. So this is called slider with trim, and there are 6 variations of it, and we are using 36 by 48. And there are some materials and finishes already assigned to this. So there's glass panel material, sash material, trim exterior material. So maybe the trim exterior material, you can click on these 3 dots, and it will bring up the material editor. And maybe we don't want it to be wood, but we want it to be metal or aluminum. You can find aluminum, select, and then hit OK. Now I'm overriding in this type property the material of it. Yeah. Render. Oh, here under Visual Style Settings, under here, it was in hidden. I changed it to realistic. Realistic applies the materials. Trim interior material, I'm going to change it to be aluminum as well. Hit OK, apply. OK. Now, all the instances of this type basically are overwritten with that material, right? So I can again keep customizing it, and this is the nice thing about Revit. Like, you can either override, like make a variation of it, so you can duplicate it, create a variation with maybe aluminum sills or some other material, and then use that instance. Or you can just override one instance of an object that you used, so that all the copies of that family would be changed as well. So sash material, maybe we make it aluminum as well. Right, so this is now aluminum. Now the same thing goes for the material I chose. I chose aluminum, but if I go to the material editor and change the color of the aluminum, it will change everything, right? And I'll just show you how you can do that as well. So if you go to materials, under manage materials, this is the stuff we're going to do later on in when we get to rendering. But this aluminum, the appearance of it, let's see, identity graphics, surface pattern, color. Maybe this one we want to do. Where is it? Did I do it correct? Let's see. Appearance. Physical. It should be somewhere here. Can I duplicate it? Let's call it yeah, this is giving it different tint colors. Well, I can override it with tint. Wondering if there's anodized blue. Okay. Let me come back to that later. I'm kind of confused. It's a bit different than the 2014. Let's see, appearance, tint color apply. I mean, you can do it with tint color, basically. I guess that's the way to do it. So you can change even the color of the material, and since the window type uses that material, its colors are changed as well. Now let's look at some other wall types. So if I go to level 1 again and go to wall, now the walls are also, you can build up specific type of walls. When you're working on a project, for instance, there may be composites walls you're going to use for the project, right? So the exterior walls may be cladded with specific material. There may be thermal gaps. there may be specific material applications that you want to use. So you can also create those as like types and use them throughout the project. So by default, let's go over some of the existing ones. So for instance, some of these walls, let's look at the composition of them. So this one, brick and CMU on metal stud. I'm going to create this guy. And when we switch to 3D, if you look at that wall, it's a really detailed, specific object, right? So there are different material layers to it, and different types of insertions, profiles extruded along it. Let's create another one. This time, let's do brick on metal stud. This one is simply brick. But if you select it and go to edit type, and there is a structure option here where we can actually look at what's happening in the section of it. So if I go to edit and then open up the preview, this is how it will be drawn in detail view on your plans. And this is actually how it's constructed. So there are two core boundary layers, and in the middle you will put your structure layer, which is basically used to build the wall, and that comes in with a thickness. So in this case it's 6 inches thick, and then there are additional layers added on the outside and on the inside. So in this case we have here it shows this is going towards the exterior side. So there's a substrate layer, membrane layer, thermal layer, and then there's the finish. And same thing happens on the inside. If I want to, we can also look at the section of this. So the section is basically similar. You can zoom in. Now if I look at the same thing for this guy, go to edit type, structure, preview. The section of this wall is a bit more complex, right? So we would have these insertions, extrusions. If you go to floor plan is like this. And each of these we can actually modify. So if I want the structure to be thicker, I can come in here and change this dimension. So let's make it, for instance, 1 foot. It will update that layer of the wall. If you want to take out some stuff, so let's say the finish, I want to take out the thermal layer, I can delete that layer. Maybe the substrate, I delete that as well. And you can see they're being taken out from the composition of the wall. Same thing here, I'm going to delete maybe the interior finishes, and then we will have the brute wall, right? Going to hit OK. And this one, I can save it as my custom wall. And I can use it throughout my project. Yeah.
Whenever you make changes to like the wall and stuff like that, does it change just in this project? Like if you go into like the interior, like 5.5-inch partition, if you make changes to like delete some layers, does it only make the changes in this project you're in, or is it just across the board?
It does it in this project, I think. Okay. Yeah. But it's a good question. The other thing is, if you're creating custom objects, you're creating them as a library object, and if you open a new file, you can also bring them into it, right? So if I create this custom wall, I can import it to the next project I want to work on, and then keep using it. Alright, so this is that one. I normally go over these profiles and extrusions, but I'm not sure if you guys want to learn them, like how to place these profiles inside walls. If you want, I can cover them tomorrow. Huh? Absolutely. So you can start with a generic wall. Let's make our custom wall. So I would go to a wall, and let's start with generic 5-inch. going to go to edit type. I'm going to duplicate it and call it my brick wall. Okay, hit OK. Now this is already saved as a type object. So I have saved this. I'm not overriding the 5-inch one. I started with, I duplicated it to create a variation of it. Now under structure, I'm going to edit the structure. And here I can insert layers or change the properties of the wall, right? So maybe I don't want this to be 5 inches, I want it to be 8 inches in the structure layer. And then I can insert some more layers to it. So insert this guy. I'm going to move it up. If I want to keep added to the exterior layer of this wall, I'm going to move it up. So now I have something there. And this one, maybe we want it to be, here there are some presets, maybe we want it to be a thermal air layer. Actually, you would also create, if you know for instance, there are shaft walls in between toilets, right? There's an air gap between them. And you can also create one here. Actually, let's make one here. So I can move this down inside the structure layer. Insert another structure layer. So this would be basically a double wall with an air gap between it. Absolutely. And the second structure layer would be 8 inches thick. And I would add a thermal air gap between this. Let's say it's going to be 1 foot. And this is an air layer. And let me see. And the thermal air layer would be air material. So there won't be anything there, right? So it will be drawn as hollow. And I will hit OK.
If you go back, is the one under structural material, that only one is checked over all to the right. What does that mean when the box is checked?
Good question. I guess you should be able to select, huh? No, you cannot click more than one. Thinking. Yeah, I mean, you should be able to actually select both of them since we're creating a double wall. But I think this is mostly for you to assign one part of the wall, kind of the structural property, so that when you want to extract some properties from the wall, the surface area or the volume of it will be retrieved, right? So let's say how much concrete is in that wall, because there are so many layers to it. You don't want to get the overall volume of the wall, but just the volume of the structure. So I think this is what it's for. Because don't forget, since we're doing this is object-oriented modeling, each object we're creating, the information of it is stored as a data, right? So if I have, let's say, 30 rooms, and I want to know how many chairs I have in this project, I'll be able to document it through the file, because the file will keep all the copies of the same library instance. So I will be able to create, later on we're going to look at schedules, for instance. You'll be able to create a breakdown of the amount of furniture you have, the amount of doors you have, the amount of windows you have, and that's basically how you produce construction documents, right? So that's kind of the advantage of it too. I'm going to click OK and then rename this as my air gap wall. Hit OK again. And if I create it anywhere, it will be basically modeled like this with the overall wall thickness. But if you look at the plan and go to a fine detail, you will have the air gap in there too. And the detail level I'm changing here, when it's coarse, it's more abstract. It shows you the overall dimensions of the walls. But if you want to see the details, you can go to fine detail, and it will show you the basic layers of the walls. Okay?
So if you design that wall with an air gap and you want to place it behind the toilet area, how does that work?
Place it where?
Behind the, we're just saying you need that area air gap.
Yeah.
And how does that affect the walls that you've already put in place?
It affects it like this. So if I place it here,
But it changes the thickness and then...
yeah, because it has already built in 1 foot air gap in it, right? So if I have a restroom here, another restroom there, this is the way to represent it basically, right? So this is how it will be drawn. This will be this could be a tin. I mean, I can change the line weight of it as well, I think. Let me see. I didn't review this one for today. I may have to check, but you should be able to change the line weight of that wall if you want it to be different, right? But technically, it just recognizes which one is a wall, which one is an air gap, and kind of it applies the graphic representation of the object the way you want to use it. Okay. Now the last thing I want to show is curtain walls, which are also type of walls. So under wall object, if you go to, so we've been looking at these composite walls, and if you go all the way to the bottom, we also have curtain walls. And curtain walls you can directly place on existing walls. Let me see. Is it this one or the other one? Sorry, the storefront. You can directly place. And it's basically a flexible object that comes in with custom divisions and custom panels. And you can control the amounts of panels you have. So if I go to 3D, this is that storefront object I placed, and this will also have some properties we can control, like the mullion types, the spacing. So for now, we have fixed distance horizontal spacing. Maybe we want to change that to 4 feet, and hit apply. Sorry, this is horizontal. Let's change this one to be 3 feet. Hit apply. We will get more divisions, right? So we are basically changing how many divisions we want, and we can change the layouting as well. So maximum spacing, it will use this kind of threshold value to calculate how many divisions we need. If you want fixed distance, then it will use this exact dimension to add the divisions, and it will have a leftover panel towards the end. Right, something like this. Let's do this one. Minimum spacing. Let's see what that does. Now I can keep stretching this, and it will keep adding elements, right? And based on the properties I have, since I had fixed distance, it starts from one side, adds those panels, and it may end up with kind of a leftover panel. And that's something you can fix by changing the vertical grid layout system. So if it says fixed distance, it will use exactly 3 feet to divide the panels. But if you do maximum spacing, it will try to kind of normalize the panel sizes so that it looks more uniform and subdivided. Okay? So this is the storefront one. The storefront basically has, you can directly place it inside other wall objects, and it comes in with already established divisions. But we can also create our own curtain wall system. So let's work on doing that. So I'm going to do that for my room. So I'm going to go to wall. And I'm going to do curtain wall. Now I'm going to place the curtain wall object here, and this will give me an error saying highlighted walls overlap. It's because this object needs to be subtracted from something else. It's a wall on its own, and you want to just you cannot place it inside an existing wall. You have to basically use it use only this thing. But the other option you have is you can cut it from an existing wall. So if you want to do that, you can go to Modify, Cut. You can select the wall, and then select the curtain wall and create it as an opening. So if I now change the height of this, it will have that type of solid void relationship with the wall it's placed on, right? So let's say my curtain wall, I want it to be at this height. Now what I want to do is find an elevation view of this geometry and customize the facade system of it. For that one, since I have a lot of stuff going on my screen, I'm going to isolate this module. Select this guy, and we can do a temporary hide isolate option is under here with the glasses. So you can do isolate element, and everything else will be hidden. So when it's when you have this cyan border, you're basically in temporary hide isolate mode, and it's basically just showing you one part of the project. I can also do this for the this curtain wall system only, right? Because that's the element I want to work on anyway. So I can select this guy and go to isolate element, and everything else will be hidden. And then I want to find the corresponding elevation for this. Let me see. I think when we switch to the elevation, we're going to lose this because this is for 3D. Yeah. So if I go to North View, it's this guy here. So I'm in elevation. This is the element we are looking at, and in 3D, I'm in isolate mode already. So let's try to correspond these two views. So this is the curtain wall system I want to model, and the way to approach it is by first placing a curtain grid, then thickening it with mullions and replacing some of the panels with doors if you want to place doors on it. So the curtain grid is pretty straightforward. It can only be placed on the curtain wall system. So this surface is basically what we have, and we can place these axis lines where we want the panels to be. And then afterwards, we will switch to the mullion tool, and we can choose those lines and thicken them into mullions. So let's look at the curtain grid first. So by default, we could like start with maybe a center division, and I can go left, then go right. It already has some built-in snaps, but I'm going to just add some divisions for now. So let's say we want to add here and here. Now I can come back in, and if we have some decimals, I want to make it. I want to get rid of them. So let's say this one we want it to be at 3 feet. I can adjust those dimensions. This one 3 feet as well, and this one I don't have a perfect value. It's because I think my top offset is not perfect either. So I'm going to make it -2 feet. Hit apply. Now this guy is 3 feet. Let's make this one, well, let's keep it at 3, and whatever we left over is left over. Now I got like a basic division. Now I can select one of these elements and do add remove segments if I want to customize this a bit more. So let's actually add some more. Let's do another curtain grid maybe here and here. The what? When you select the element under context ribbon, the context ribbon is this green area. It's a type specific modification. So since this is a curtain grid tool, it shows me add remove segments, which enables you to select areas where you want to delete, right? So maybe I want to customize this system a bit. So I'm going to delete these segments here and there. I can also do the vertical ones, so maybe I delete that one. I come in here, delete these two. And I want to place a door here, so that's why I'm going to also open up these panels. Right? So basically that's what I came up with, just for now. Now if I look at it in 3D, this is what we have. The whole curtain wall system is already divided into glass panels, but we don't have the mullions yet. So what I have to do is add the mullions. So I go back here, switch to mullion tool. Now my default mullion is 2.5 by 5. We can switch to something a bit smaller. And then you can add specific mullions to specific lines. For instance, I can add them one by one, and it will select those, recognize those grid lines and thicken them into mullions. Or you can simply do all grid lines, and all of them will be given the thickness. And then you can also come in and delete some of them. If you, let's say, want to have a door here, you may not want to have these panels, these mullions. You can delete them. And this panel here we want to replace with a door that we can open. And for that one I'm going to actually insert a curtain wall double glass, double window, double door, sorry. So I'm going to go to Insert, Load Family, go to Windows all the way at the bottom. And there is a curtain wall, wait, it wasn't here. Yeah, it's indoors, sorry. It's indoors, curtain wall double glass, curtain wall single glass, curtain wall storefront. So let's say we want to use a double glass one, or the storefront one, okay? So I'm going to bring in these. Now the way you apply it is, if I go to 3D, what I want to do is select this panel and change it to being a door. So I'm going to use the tab key on my keyboard, and the tab key basically allows you to iterate through the elements where the mouse cursor is. So let's say I want to select some elements here. I can iterate through them using my tab key. So I will go through the window panel, the mullion, the whole storefront, each of the panels on both sides, until I find the element I want to select, which is highlighted, and then I can click and select it. And this shows me in properties what that object is. It's a glazed curtain wall system panel, which is glass basically. It's a single glass panel. And I want to click on this drop down, and I want to change its type. So I can make it empty if, let's say, you're creating a kind of a open air system, or maybe this is like a louver based system, and you can make all of them empty. Yeah, you just change it, absolutely. And I want to use, let's say, this one, storefront double door. And there you have it. The door is placed inside that panel, and it stretches according to the dimensions you specified, which is really nice. So I want to get out of this temporary isolate. So I'm going to click here, and I'm going to do reset temporary isolate, which will bring back everything. So this is basically what I have for now. So I have created kind of a basic facade for the unit, added some furniture, restroom, doors. Yeah.
Does it need to have access to the shaft area?
No, I'm just like adding it. I'm not going to grade your assignment. I mean, I'm not going to grade the design of the assignment necessarily. I'm of course going to be cautious of it. If it's like underdone, I'll give you feedback on it. But I'm just like showing you there will be a shaft as well in these units, right? Normally in the restroom. One last thing I want to show is kind of preliminary graphic overrides you should be utilizing to represent your plans. So I'm going to basically override the properties of my drawing. So this one, level 1, where we have been working with, I can rename this and call it, let's say, rename. Call it my unit floor plans. No. And let's say this one, I want it to have specific graphic representation for the units. And the way I'm going to do it is by going to the graphic display options. Let's say we want to have some shadows for our plan drawing. So I can basically go to the properties of this floor plan drawing. Under graphic display options, I click edit, and I can change or override some of the properties of this plan drawing. So if we want to add shadows, I can do cast shadows, hit apply, and shadows will be added to that drawing. I could also do show ambient shadows, which will basically make it a bit more tactile, I think, when you switch to, let me see, shaded. We have shaded consistent colors. Yeah. But if you're not happy with the amount of shadows you're getting, you can go to the lighting option and you can change the sun angles. So you can go to the sun setting and you can change the, let's say, the azimuth. You want to do it 160, hit apply. You will have less shadows, right? So it will add some depth to the drawing, as well as you can change the directions of it too, depending on how you want to represent your project. I'm going to hit OK. Now these shadows are a bit too dark. Maybe you want to make them a bit more transparent. So I can reduce the shadow intensity here, so they are a bit more grayish. I'm going to hit OK. Now the last thing I want to do is add a poche to these cut walls. And then I can do, under visibility and graphics, go to edit. Now what I want to do is add a poche to the wall elements, right? So these are the graphic settings of the elements of all the objects we can use on this floor plan. And I'm going to go all the way down to walls. And here we can see the basically common edges, hidden lines, wall sweeps, like how specific type of objects are drawn, like specific properties of those. What I want to do is create an override here and change the cut lines and cut patterns here. Right? So each object that you see has a projection style, which is kind of an elevation drawing. When the element is not cut, it's drawn with in projection mode, right? So their lines will have specific line weights, and they will be assigned here. And when they are cut, they will be using these settings here. And I want to override the cut patterns of the walls. So I click on override here, and I want to choose a pattern. Let's say I want to have a solid fill, and I can choose a color of my choice. We can make it I made it black, but I mean, you can make it any color you want. So let's say you want to make it magenta. You can make them magenta, right? So you can come up with plan drawings that are more like detailed and in-depth and represent your projects. Okay. Tomorrow I'm going to go over other stuff, and then I'm going to show you how you can place these on sheets, work with some scaling, and kind of prepare what you need to submit for the assignment. Any questions?